So again, welcome everyone. We're so excited that you guys decided to join us. Yeah, thanks so much for turning on your camera. Appreciate that. It makes it a lot more comfortable, like being able to see the faces. You guys will not see my face for long. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Brown. I'm the advisor and for the APEX program. It started when the school started. I came out to help start the school back in 2013, created what was then called the FEEP program. Now we call it the APEX program. And I've just really enjoyed the last 2 years where I've been the advisor and running the APEX program. Just so excited to be around such wonderful top tier students from high school that continue to be top tier students in undergrad and into pharmacy school and beyond. And speaking of that, we have a wide array of students here. We have some students that are currently in the first 2 years of the APEX program, some that are in the PharmD, and at least one that has graduated and is in the middle of his residency. So we want to give you a wide breadth of students, and all of them are APEX. And so I will take off. I'm going to turn it over to Ethan, and then each of the students will introduce themselves and say what year of the program they're in, and maybe like what city and high school you went to. And then they're just going to open it up to questions for you guys, since we only have an hour for this session, and I know you have tons of questions. Don't forget, tomorrow at 5, I have a general APEX info session. So if you haven't signed up for that, you should, because you'll be able to find the more detail, or additional detail about the program, and advice for my advice for getting admission and so forth. So with that, I will turn it over to Ethan, and then I am going to leave and just let the students take it away. All right, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Tran. I'm currently a second-year APEX member, so I'm doing my last year of the undergrad program. And I'm currently president of Chapman's FPC Club, which plans all of the events for the APEX program. It stands for Future Pharmacist Club. So we have a couple other board members, but we'll just go down the line and have everyone introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Amanda. So I'm vice president of FPC for APEX. I'm in my second year in the program, and I'm from Chino Hills, but I went to Diamond Bar High School, and yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Allison. I'm your guys' treasurer of the FPC club, and I am from Irvine, and I went to Beckman High School.
Nathan and Ethan, do you guys want to go next?
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm a current P1, so I'm in my first year of pharmacy school. I'm the former FPC vice president last year's, and I came from Huntington Beach High School, and I'm from Huntington Beach.
My name is Nathan. I was last year's FPC secretary. I'm a P1 student right now. I'm in Ethan's classes, and then I'm from Orange, and I went to Medina High School.
Hello, my name's Rebecca. I don't know if you can hear me, but I was last year's FBC president. So I am a current P1 student, pharmacy first year student, and I went to Saugus High School in Santa Clarita.
I'll go next. My name is Tian. I'm a current P2 student at the pharmacy school, and I went to high school at Found Valley, and I'm from Garden Grove.
Hi, my name is Vivian Law. I was the past vice president before Ethan, and I'm currently a P2 student over here at the farm school. I'm from Orange, and then I went to Villa Park for high school.
And then I'm last, and the longer you stick around, the more things you have to say. So I'm Dr. Mason Myers. I am originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, and then moved out to Orange County to start what was then the FEEP program, now the Apex program. I graduated from the pharmacy school in 2023 and was involved there in a number of capacities, leading the supplemental instruction program, as well as a few other hats and responsibilities. I am currently completing my second year specialty pharmacy residency at Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon, focusing on hematology and oncology, specifically in the realm of stem cell transplant. So super niche, but happy to be here and answer any questions.
Thank you. I also forgot to mention I'm from the Bay Area and I went to Lee High School. So if you're from the Bay, you might know where that is. So does anyone have any questions that we can start things off with? Feel free to like drop them in the chat if you don't want to like turn on your mic and stuff. Okay, we can start with that one. So how hard is the program? It is an accelerated program, but at the same time, if you're like in the program already and you're already starting in the program, you probably have a pretty good baseline of like the work ethic and like kind of the rhythm to get into things. I feel like going into the program after high school, I was pretty much able to get into the flow of things pretty quick. The classes start off similar to how like AP classes might have been in high school, and then they progressively get more and more difficult. But at the same time, you're also getting into the hang of things, being in college and learning more at a higher level. Does anyone else want to add in?
I would say I would like go off of Ethan, but pretty much I feel like the coursework isn't too bad. And also if you just put your mind to it and be able to be on top of your assignments and like studying, you should be totally fine. And you don't really have to worry too much about it.
Can we get a pharmacy student to give us some insight on how pharmacy school?
You want to speak on this one, Vivian, or you want me to speak on it?
It doesn't matter.
I'll just say a few things. I would say I think in undergrad, they give you a lot more materials to help you with your learning. They're a lot more accessible to, I'd say. They have like designated office hours that you can go visit them. Compared to the pharmacy school, there's not exactly a designated office hour. It's more so like you would email them and schedule a meeting if you had questions for them, or they're more accessible towards email where you can just ask them a simple question through email. I think for resources wise, it's mainly mainly studying based off the slide. So I think compared to undergrad, there's a little less resources, but I think the undergrad program does prepare you well for the grad program.
For the question about how many hours do you usually spend studying, I would say it really depends on the week and what specifically you have. A lot of the times for me, working on like homework assignments and like going over the lecture after class is enough studying for some weeks where there's less or where there isn't the stress of a test coming up soon. But for other classes, I'm studying like a couple hours a day, I guess. But anyone else have like how they've experienced the program about that?
So I would say for me, I studied a lot. But I think it is pretty well, like you're able to balance like school load and also be able to do other things outside of school. Cause there's a question that I think they were asking, like if you're able to have time for like social life, which you are. It's not all about like, it's definitely not all studying like every day, every night, morning and night. You're able to have an outside life. For me, I'm actually part of like different clubs on campus, and I'm also working. So I'm able to be able to do the program and the coursework while I also be and have a social life outside of it. So there's no need to worry about that.
Is the PharmD after the Apex program year round, or are summers off?
Go.
Well, we can answer that question. So the PharmD program after Apex, so when you actually enter pharmacy school here at Rinker, it is year round. We don't get summers, and you're on a trimester-based system. So you'll be having basically 3 trimesters a year, which includes the summer.
Our breaks are like 2 weeks apart, or like we have 1 trimester and then 2 weeks off, and then we start the next trimester and then 2 weeks off. And then each trimester is like 15 weeks of school. And then that will be 45 weeks of school total in the year. And then the rest are breaks.
And next question, what high school classes or subjects helped you get off to a good start? Anyone have an answer for that?
I would say any of the AP classes, especially the sciences and math. I would say focus on what our program accepts. So like for us, we accept psych, calculus, stats, I think English, like AP Lit or AP Lang, but you have to get a certain score on the AP exam to have it pass. But if you do take the class, the AP class, it is a good head start to the classes here at Chapman.
Yeah, I think similarly, looking back on my time, the AP classes really subject matter wise just laid a good foundation. But I think the more important thing was the like study skills I got from that is it does kind of match more of a college level pace. And so you're kind of expected to do the readings and come up with your own questions if you want to learn more. So I think just following those syllabi really helps you prep for the pace of what would be multiple college courses at the same time.
Okay, next question here. Is the schedule very tight most of the time with classes? I can answer this one. I feel like I have a pretty busy schedule. I'm on like a couple different board positions for different organizations, but I found that it's not that difficult to balance your time. My classes this semester, I'm only taking 4 of them and I only have 1 lab, which is really helpful because the way I scheduled my classes, I have a lot of breaks and a lot of free time. Other semesters, you might not get as lucky in your registration times where you might end up having a later class here and there. But for the most part, you'll end up taking about 4 to 5 classes each semester. So your schedule isn't too busy most of the time if you're not taking like too many classes.
I would also say it depends on what semester and what year you're in. So definitely your first semester of year 1 as undergrad in the program is you only have 2 labs and then plus the classes versus your second semester, your first year, you will have 3 labs. But it also depends on what classes you're able to like pass. So like let's say like you pass an AP, you could like substitute that class for another class and even out your year more. It just all depends, mostly.
I can
Okay.
chime in really
Oh.
quickly about like the pharmacy school schedule. So in pharmacy school, you get your schedule pretty much assigned to you. The only thing that will change is if you want to take an elective or not in certain trimesters. And so that kind of stress is relieved when it comes to schedule planning. But we do have intense classes from around 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, with Mondays having usually just a lab class or no class at all, and Fridays being off for rotations. So everything's kind of packed in the middle of the week, and then you usually get like a longer weekend, but the classes that you take in the middle of the week do take a lot of time.
Okay, I see here. Do you think having a study group is helpful, and what are the professors like?
So Personally, I think I really like study groups. I do have a few of them, especially for my STEM classes like OChem and microbio. It's a really good way, I think, to stay motivated and just keep yourself and your other friends accountable. Also with like bouncing practice questions off each other. So I do think having a study group is helpful, but again, to each their own. Some people may like studying more by themselves, while other people may prefer studying in a group. But considering what the professors are like, personally, I've liked all the professors I've had on campus. I feel like they really want the best for you. And they also have so many resources available for you to excel in their classes, such as office hours. And a lot of our STEM classes also have SI sessions, which are basically other sort of study hours led by students who had previously taken that class and done really well, which are also super helpful.
Okay, next one I see here is, does anyone have any experience transferring into the program from another college or university? And if so, how is the process? I think for this question, you're actually not able to do that. The way the Apex program is laid out is really specific in its requirements. So I believe if you haven't like done the first year at Chapman, you wouldn't be able to continue the second year, but you are still able to apply to the pharmacy school at the same time. I think though, if you have more questions on that, you should send that to Dr. Brown because I'm not completely sure on like all the specifics related to that. For the pharmacy students, did you feel prepared for the PharmD program since there are only 2 years of undergrad?
I feel like I can answer this question. I think if you guys like balance your time well and you're able to adapt while you're in undergrad, because you are required to take certain classes during your undergrad, and that can help challenge you when you're in pharmacy school. I feel like if you're able to develop good study skills and good habits while you're in undergrad, it can definitely prepare you for pharmacy school.
Next one I see here, what are some things that you do in the Future Pharmacist Club? Allie, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, so the Future Pharmacist Club is the club that all Apex students or undergrad Apex students are a part of, so your first and second years. And with the Future Pharmacy Club, we usually have events every month for you just like hang out, relax, eat some free food. And we have a summer event for incoming freshmen, which is something that we really look forward to hosting because that's the first time that the first years really meet each other. But besides that, the Future Pharmacist Club also has a mentor-mentee program where every first year who would like is able to get a second year mentor. And that's just a really nice bond to have, a nice relationship to have someone as your mentor who can guide you through your class and tell you which ones to choose. And that's also something that we really do enjoy and is a privilege to have as part of FPC.
Nathan, who is also in the call, is actually my mentor. And now he's in pharmacy school. So even after your undergrad time, you still can like talk to your mentor and you still have like a strong connection with them. What type of device would you suggest for studying and schoolwork?
So we can answer this question. In undergrad, I got myself a MacBook, like MacBook Air, and then an iPad, also with an Apple Pencil, and I feel like it helped a lot. Like I have an example for you guys. This is my OChem. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like it's like really easy to like use your Apple Pencil to like work on OChem practice problems, especially in bio. We had to draw like different cycles, and in pharmacy school, it's included in your tuition where you get a free MacBook Air and an iPad mini. And what else we get?
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, they kind of cheaped out on us because we didn't get an Apple Pencil this year, but the years before us got it. But I would recommend getting a MacBook Air or like a laptop in general and an iPad with an Apple Pencil. It really helps to like speed up the process so that you don't have to like carry around your papers everywhere, pencils. And yeah, anything else?
I think I would emphasize the iPad over the laptop. I think the iPad is so versatile. In terms of when you're doing work, there's like you're gonna be doing a lot of practice problems and you're gonna be drawing a lot of diagrams throughout your first 2 years of undergrad. And I couldn't imagine a lot of your professors are very like catering to technology too. A lot of your worksheets and a lot of your homework will be online on Canvas. So I think it's definitely a good investment that you should make. And you can honestly carry it through. Like I still use my own personal iPad that I bought in undergrad compared to the iPad mini they gave us. So it will you can still carry it on. You don't have to be worried about like having to use the school technology.
And then some good apps for taking notes is GoodNotes. I would recommend GoodNotes is pretty good. Anyone else have other apps? That's good. Or like Quizlet, like if you have to memorize, I would say those would be good study tools.
I think I exclusively used Notability, but yeah, GoodNote or Notability, I think was kind of the big two all through pharmacy school for my class.
I'm personally team GoodNotes as well, but but I have heard that those ones are really popular. I think I've also heard of like Colanote is what one of my friends uses. And then for like schedule planning and stuff like that, I think it's really helpful to use a Google Calendar or an Apple Calendar. And also some people I know use Notion, which they like because then you can kind of customize it and add different screens to it as well, or different like pages to it as well. Would you say you spend more than 3 hours studying a day? Personally, I would say no. But I think the way like the classes that I'm taking this year, I have a strong foundation from like last year, and also I feel like I learn a lot in class. I think on average, I probably study 1 to 2 hours a day. On some days, even less. It also depends on when I have exams. So on exam days, I'll spend like a couple more hours studying, but usually I'd say like about 1 to 2.
Yeah, I really do feel like the course load for your undergrad year is a lot similar to you taking AP classes. So a lot of you guys who are taking AP classes right now, just know that it's going to be somewhat similar, maybe a little bit more difficult, but it's not going to be like a crazy amount of homework and a crazy amount of studying.
Okay, did you guys use the program suggested to your plan or created your own schedule? For me personally, I kind of mixed it up a little bit because the program is lined out not only just to help you plan, but because some of the classes you specifically have to take at those times. So I took the ones that were required at whatever time I was supposed to take them, such as like chemistry, where you have to take it in a 4-class sequence. But with your elective classes and maybe things that you've cleared with AP credit, you can shuffle things around. My first semester, I didn't take an English class. So instead, I ended up taking, I think, an econ class instead. So you can really mix and match any of the 3 credit classes on there. Just the ones with lab, you have to keep where they are. Anyone else have experience on that?
Yeah, I can put my input on that a bit. For me personally, especially in undergrad, I had a lot of classes that I actually was able to remove from my schedule because of dual enrollment or taking them at community college, or also just AP testing. So it's kind of hard to follow the strict 2-year plan when you won't reach the correct credit requirement for that specific semester. So you really can just take most classes at any pace that you'd like. Only the chemistry, biology, and like anatomy, physiology classes, you kind of have to take in the order that it's provided. But everything else, you could pick whatever electives you want to take as long as they're you take the mandatory ones that you have to fulfill before entering pharmacy school, as well as you can arrange it in whatever order that you want.
Okay, this next one, if you graduate from PharmD, how do you apply to residency? And do you need to get your pharmacist license first or go straight after graduating PharmD?
I'll pick this one. So the application process for residency actually starts in your final year of pharmacy school. Normally that process starts in the fall of the year before you're going to graduate. And so there is a very large pharmacy conference in December called the Mid-Year Clinical Meeting, and most of the residency programs from across the country are there. And so you have an opportunity to talk with them, get to know the program, meet some of their residents. And then right around that time is when the portals also open. It's most people normally submit kind of around Christmas time. And so it's pretty much standard job application materials. You'll submit a full CV, a letter of intent. And then once you send that off, you will figure out which programs are offering you an interview. And then throughout the early spring, you attend interviews. And then very similar to the medical residency process, it is a match system. So anywhere that you interview at, you are able to rank, and then you send off their rank, and all the programs rank everyone who they interviewed. And then on a fateful day in March, you get an email that hopefully has good news for where you will go. So to answer that question, no, you do not need to be a licensed pharmacist before applying for residency. But then once you get accepted, it is then on kind of a timeline around by October of that first period after you graduate when you need to get licensed so that you can complete the residency program. But that's kind of the general timeline. And then throughout pharmacy school, I'm sure a lot of the other P1s and P2s can talk to this, but there are a ton of events that help get you ready for residency, help prepping your CV and resume early and making sure that you kind of have an expectation of what you need to be doing to be a competitive candidate.
Thank you. I think we have a hand raised, so if you want to unmute and ask your question, you can do that. Oh, or not. Okay. Or you can drop it in the chat also. We'll like get to this eventually. Next question, what is the average graduating class size of the Apex program? If we could start with Mason and then maybe just go forward in like the timeline, I guess, because I think where we are now is kind of where we're going to be staying.
When I started, we were like the first class of 50 that they recruited, which was huge. And so we had quite a bit of matriculation. Some people decided they wanted to do different things. Some people didn't meet the GPA requirement. I think by the time we started pharmacy school, we had 38.
I would say for our class, for me and Tian, like I feel like that was also the same. We started out with 55 and we ended up with around like 38, 40.
Ours is the same with our year too. We started around with a little bit under 50, I believe, and then we went down to like the low 30s. Usually, basically, if people have like find out they don't want to do pharmacy or if they want to pursue something else, that's where most of them go.
Then for our year, we had, I think 50 or 55 when we started. Now we're at, I think 35 to 38-ish. But that's due to like a lot of people switched their major to like health science because they found out like pharmacy wasn't the right choice for them. And then this new class that we just got, the current college freshmen, their class I think is 60, which is the largest class of Apex that we've had so far. I think it might go back down to 50, but Dr. Brown was kind of lenient this year, so maybe he'll be lenient again and let it go up to 60 again. Okay, did you get involved or do you get involved in pharmacy organizations like AMCP as a student? Any pharmacy school students that want to answer this one?
Yes, so
No,
sorry.
you're
There's so many of us that want to answer this one. So on the pharmacy campus, there are quite a few chapters that you can join. There's the American Pharmacists Association, there's CSHP, which is like residency focus, AMCP, as you mentioned as well, for managed care, IPHO for industry, so many that you can choose from. And you can get involved. They have like various different events that you can attend, as well as like also conferences too. I think Mason mentioned a conference as well. Some of them are also hosted by these organizations that you can attend as well. And then there's also like regional level events and like national events that you can attend as a student as well.
Rebecca, did you want to talk about some of your involvements?
I just wanted to briefly mention that these organizations are focused for our current pharmacy students. You will not be able to join these or student organizations while you're in the undergraduate APEX program, but they are available to all students once you start the pharmacy program.
I just want to do actually a little small add-in to what Rebecca said too. Some of our organizations, we do actually open these events up to the APEX students, not to join as members, but they can join to be volunteers. So for example, for our American Pharmacists Association chapter, we did do like a homecoming health fair event, which was like a community outreach event. And some of the APEX students here actually did volunteer as well. So we do try to like give opportunities for you guys as well, but unfortunately, you cannot be a member until you do join the pharmacy school.
Me and Allie actually worked a shift at that event, and maybe Amanda was there. No, not at the same time as us, but yeah. Next question: what is the average tuition for 1 year of PharmD? I'm not sure on that one.
I believe it's the average annual is around 90,000, but they do give you a few scholarships and stuff that helps with it as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And what kind of pharm careers are you all interested in after graduation? For me personally, I know it's like super far away right now because I'm only in my second year of Apex, but right now I'm kind of thinking about maybe like academia or industry. I'm not really sure yet, but I kind of just chose two that I thought seemed interesting, but I'll definitely change my mind later. And we can just like go around the whole group and everyone give their answer.
Me personally, I'm definitely gonna also pursue like postgraduate training, whether it's through fellowship or residency. I am part of like a research competition right now. It's like very industry focused, and I feel like that is something I might be interested in after graduating.
Yeah, and I'm interested in pursuing like clinical pharmacy, like acute care. So working in the hospital.
For me personally, I'm also kind of interested in pursuing a residency for acute care, or even a second year residency in hematology oncology, actually, funnily enough.
I would say kind of similar-ish, but I'm leaning towards like a general acute care, PGY1, and potentially maybe PGY2 focusing in cardiology.
You were stronger than I for wanting to go into cardiology. Dr. Su would be so proud. Like I said, I completed my PGY1 in a general acute care residency as well at a large academic medical center. So I got a ton of experience staffing the internal medicine service, but I also got a wide variety of other experiences in outpatient heart failure, inpatient solid organ transplantation, infectious diseases. So I kind of got a smattering of everything, and I'm now training specifically in the hematology oncology space. So like I said, I've done inpatient stem cell transplant, outpatient lung, prostate, thyroid, head and neck cancers. Currently, had some investigational drug exposure, so working with like FDA investigational agents, so all sorts of stuff. But like kind of like I said earlier, preference is stem cell transplant, specifically in the inpatient setting. So kind of being clinical pharmacist on the floor, managing patients in the immediate post-transplant period, all of their immunosuppression, antibiotics, all things you all learn about in pharmacy school, but very fun, kind of high acuity type care.
For me, I'm interested in compounding pharmacy. I currently work at a independent compounding facility, and yeah, I would say that, or probably the hospital as well. I'm kind of iffy. We'll see.
I am also looking into acute pharmacy care, but speaking about that, I know a lot of you guys as high schoolers don't really know about like many fields, but there are a lot of opportunities in Apex for you to learn more, such as during your first year undergrad, you actually have a pharmacy class where you'll get to hear from a lot of different speakers in the pharmaceutical field, just so you can start to realize and just see if there's any that really interest you.
I guess I'm last. So I'm actually also interested in the academia and industry pathway similar to Ethan. I do really want to pursue a fellowship in clinical development, and I hope to focus either on clinical development in cardiology or oncology. Either that, if that doesn't work out, I would also be really open to a acute care residency, and then hopefully a PGY2 in either cardiology or oncology, hematology, similar to Mason. But I would have to take my oncology class with Dr. Pering first to see if I'm really interested in that yet.
Okay, thanks everyone for sharing for that one. Next question I see here is, what is the average GPA for PharmD students? Any brave PharmD students that want to share on this?
I feel like your GPA varies. Like some people, they do really well in their P1 year, and then they don't really do well in their P2 year because they struggle a lot with therapeutics. Or they do really not so great in their P1 year, but then they blossom during their therapeutics. So it really depends on the type of person you are. And especially if you don't think some of the therapeutics are like interesting to you or like you don't really understand it, then you're definitely not going to do well versus like other therapeutics where you feel very, very passionate towards it, you're going to do well. So it just depends on the type of person you are. But I think in general, like if you work hard, you like study and like, I don't know, just have a good mindset in general, you guys will do fine.
Okay, next one. Are there any intern research opportunities during your undergraduate years?
I can speak a little bit about research opportunities during your undergraduate. There's not a lot of us that are involved in research per se, but I actually have an opportunity, or I have been working for the semester with one of our chemistry professors with research. And I feel like the best way, if you guys are interested in doing research during undergrad, is to really just reach out to professors, email them, just literally just ask them if they're doing research and if they need um, student interns to work or just to help out. And you'll be surprised because a lot of our undergrad professors are involved in research, and don't be afraid to ask.
I can also speak on like research opportunities during my undergrad year. Um, I was unlucky like Allison, so I actually reached out to people on the Orange campus during my year in undergrad, and everyone rejected me or opened my email, never responded to me. But I was lucky enough to be able to contact some of the professors at the School of Pharmacy, and I was lucky to be able to contact my current mentor, Dr. Surya Nali. I've been doing research with him ever since undergrad, and I still do it to this day. So even if you can't find research on the undergrad campus, there's also plenty of research opportunities on the Rinker campus. You guys can also participate in research projects like the Capstone project, or you guys can also do independent research with professors on pharmacy school. So don't feel like you're just limited to doing research in undergrad, or if like, oh, I won't have research experience in undergrad, I don't know if I'm going to be fit for research in pharmacy school. But there's going to be a lot of opportunities in like pharmacy school, even if you don't experience them in undergrad as well.
Okay, next question. How long is residency?
Residency is typically 1 year at a time. And so there is kind of just a standard generalist year for most residencies. And again, that normally goes from about end of June, beginning of July through June, July of the next year. And then if you are interested in pursuing a specialty area of practice, that would be a second year after that. For the most part, though, so it's said, residency is not a mandatory component of being a pharmacist. There are a ton of career paths that don't require a residency for you to get into. And then, as some people here have mentioned, getting into things like academia or fellowships, which can kind of get you more into the industry world, which is things like they had said, drug development, working at the FDA, clinical trials, drug marketing, all of those things are other options as well. And so that's kind of the general structure and timeline, but again, not a mandatory postgraduate requirement.
Okay, the next one I see here is, what is the PharmD class remediation policy? So for that one, this is kind of like one of the more difficult parts of Apex. You actually like aren't allowed to fail any classes. So in order to stay in the program, it's required, I think a 3.0 throughout like your cumulative 3.0. And then you also would need a C or higher in every class. So you can't dip below into C minus or D or lower. But for the most part, I find that balancing the classes is not too bad, to the point where you are pretty like able to maintain those requirements throughout. The next one I see here is, what high school GPA do you guys think is good to get into the Apex program?
I can talk a little bit about that. I think it's less so about the GPA that you have. I think that in general, having, I would say, above a 3.5 or 3.7, around anywhere above that is good, but it's more so the type of classes that you are taking. I know that they are looking for specifically that you're challenging yourself in the world of STEM. So taking like AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics, any kind of topics that are more related to pharmacy and the field of STEM. Taking those kinds of classes will make you stand out as a candidate for the program. So it's less so about GPA is important, but it's more so about the types of classes specifically.
And just so it said, the other side of that coin is also really, what are you passionate about and what else are you involved in? The program requires a lot of you outside of just being able to go to a class and learn. It involves a lot of social skills and really being well-rounded, and possibly holding a job during pharmacy school as a technician to get more experience. And so if you're already doing things outside of just your coursework in high school, that's a really good sign. And so, are you involved in clubs? Do you currently work? Are you a volunteer anywhere? All those things are super important as well. And those are the things that we'll also want to hear about when you ultimately write your letter of intent to college. Those are the things that will really make you stand out. So make sure to also invest there, while obviously continuing in the courses that are important for your education.
Yeah, and like most schools anyway, Chapman like accepts applications on like a holistic sense, not necessarily just, do you have the best grades, or are you in like the best or did you have like the best SAT score? It's really on like your entire application package. Next question. What are the scholarships that you've received for the pharmacy? So all Apex students, when you're accepted into the program, you receive a pharmacy school scholarship. I think it's 99,000 for spread across 3 years. If I am correct, or like 988. It's a number, I think that's like 2 numbers in a row, but I'm not completely sure. Does anyone know that? Okay, that's okay. We'll go to the next one. But they give you a scholarship that's then spread across the 3 years of pharmacy school. So I'm not like sure the complete numbers, but you can, I think, find that on the Apex like info area on the Chapman website. Okay, the next one. When do you need to start deciding about the career path after pharmacy school?
You really don't have to very early on at all. It is nice to have a trajectory in mind because you can set yourself up with certain experiences that align with your goals. So I knew coming into pharmacy school that a residency was something I was interested in, even though I didn't really know what that process would look like. But because of that, I went to events that were talking about things like residency preparation, and that's what led me to getting involved in the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, ASHP, as a board member and volunteering and picking certain IPPY and APPY experiences that I feel like would give me exposure to areas that were important to me. And so that really is helpful. However, I have friends who have graduated pharmacy school and decided later they wanted to go back and do a residency, people who work in retail pharmacy for many years and then decide they want to pivot to industry or vice versa. And so as much as it is nice to have an idea, one of the best things about a pharmacy career, in my opinion, is it's really easy to pivot. A PharmD degree is so flexible and there are so many different jobs you can hold. So you don't need to be dialed in on one thing at the end of pharmacy school to have a successful career in wherever you eventually decide you want to go.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And then another one for you, I guess, because you might be the only one who's done them, but where did you go for your APPYs?
Oh yeah, I guess none of you are on APPYs yet. So you rank whatever APPY, and for those of you who don't know, your APPYs are your final year of pharmacy school. So that last year is all experiential. And so you are just out in the world training to be a pharmacist. And so with that, you have some mandatory experiences. Everyone will have to at least do one hospital rotation. Everybody will have to do one clinical hospital rotation. Everybody will have to do one outpatient retail pharmacy experience. And so I did a handful all over the place. I did my inpatient clinical up at Harbor UCLA, which is the safety net hospital down in LA County, which was a fantastic experience. I did my general hospital as well as a outpatient kind of home infusion service down at Memorial Long Beach. I did my retail pharmacy at a local CVS right by my house, which was great because I could roll out of bed super late. And then I did an academia rotation with Dr. Mary Gutierrez, who is a phenomenal human. I feel like I did one more, but those are the ones that are on my mind right now.
Cool. Okay, so the next one here is, does the 90K tuition mentioned include housing costs or just college tuition? So for Chapman Pharmacy School, I think is what you're talking about from earlier, there actually is no housing for pharmacy school. Because it's in Irvine and the Chapman main campus when you're in undergrad is in Orange. The only campus housing available is when you're in your undergrad years. So once you're in pharmacy school, you just figure it out on your own, I guess. A lot of people are commuters, and then they have that option. Rebecca, since you're not from OC, could you talk about this one?
Okay, so for the undergraduate program specifically, you do get housed through the Chapman dorming. So I dormed in my freshman year on campus, and I also did on-campus apartments for my second year. But as far as my housing situation is going right now, I do have a house that I rent with a couple other students from actually UC Irvine. So you have to kind of figure out your own housing situation. I think I pay like $1,000 a month, and it's completely separate from tuition. So the 90K does not include any like tuition or any other outside costs.
And another one here, I'm not really sure about, but what about the class remediation policy for the PharmD specifically after the APEX program?
For the PharmD program specifically, it is class dependent. So there is a certain percentage in your classes that you need to get in order to move on to the next trimester. And there's a buffer period. So let's say it's like the passing grade is a 70% in the class, but you end up with a 68% in the class. You'll have the opportunity to remediate that class with one final exam. And if you're able to get a high enough score on that exam, you'll be able to pass that class and move on to the next trimester. If you're not able to remediate that properly through the traditional way, then you'll have to take essentially a gap year, because all of our classes are structured very rigorously. So you can't rearrange any classes. So if you fail a class in your fall trimester, you won't be able to take or you won't be able to retake that class until the fall trimester of the following year. So essentially, you'll just have to take that entire pharmacy year again following the next year. Please correct me if I'm wrong with anything.
Yeah, I'll just second what Rebecca said. It is definitely possible, depending on the course, to kind of work and figure out an end of term remediation policy if you're on the border. But if you are unable to do so and you need to take that year off, it will just be rejoining the following cohort in the year below you with that next, whatever that cycle is, if it's fall to fall or spring to spring or summer to summer, which is doable. I've had a handful of friends who had to do that for various reasons and extenuating life circumstances, and they have since gone on to graduate in natural residencies and fellowships and all sorts of things. So it is not the end of the world, and there are people there to support you and figure out what you can do in that year off.
Thank you so much. I guess we made it to the bottom of the chat. So we don't have any more questions. If anyone has some more, you can drop them down below. Oh, another question. Would you pay that 90K if you took the gap year?
No, you would not have to pay the 90K because you're not taking any classes. I think if you do decide to take a partial amount of classes, because if you don't pass like one class, that means you can still take like the other classes that weren't like up, like that class wasn't a prerequisite for another class, you can still take the other classes. I think your tuition is reduced, but you don't have to pay the 90K if you're taking a gap year. And then also to go off what Mason said, like you have a lot of support if you do decide or if that gap year does happen. And also like a lot of students, they don't kind of sit around during their gap year. They use it to gain more pharmacy experience. Like I know a lot of them go into work full time, or they like seek other opportunities to help boost them and boost their pharmacy knowledge. So sometimes for some people, like that gap year can be really beneficial for them as well.
Thank you everyone for your answers, and thank you to everyone in the chat for asking a lot of great questions. We're about 5 minutes away from 6 p.m. So if we don't have any more questions, I think we can end the meeting here. If anyone has some more questions, really quick, but yeah, I thank you guys for coming. And thank you to the whole panel for being so great. And yeah,